It was one of those quiet Tuesday mornings where the world seemed to slow down to a gentle rhythm, as if nature itself was sighing softly. The sky hung heavy with gray clouds, and a tender drizzle traced delicate patterns against my kitchen window. Outside, the rain kissed my hydrangeas, their petals glistening with tiny droplets like jewels in the muted light. I sat alone, cradling a warm cup of chamomile tea, the steam swirling slowly upward, mingling with my thoughts. Life on Willowbrook Lane had always been like this, comfortable, predictable, but wrapped in a subtle kind of loneliness. Our neighbors exchanged polite greetings and smiles, knew each other's names, but rarely ventured beyond the surface. Stories were left untold, feelings unshared, and connections barely made. I had settled into this quiet routine, believing that solitude was all I needed. Then, without warning, a soft knock broke the stillness. I wasn't expecting anyone. Heart fluttering with a mixture of curiosity and hesitation, I rose and walked to the door. When I opened it, there he was, George Caldwell, my silver-haired neighbor. A man whose presence was as quiet as the rain, but somehow steady and reassuring. In his hands, he held a small package, carefully wrapped, as if it held something precious. His usual reserved demeanor softened by a shy, almost nervous smile. "I saw this at the farmer's market," he said gently, his voice carrying the faintest tremor, "and it made me think of you." I looked down at the gift, a beautifully painted ceramic planter, adorned with soft pastel flowers and intricate vines, delicate and alive in its own way. A warmth spread through me, unexpected and tender. It had been years since anyone had given me anything, years since I felt seen in a way that mattered. That simple act, a quiet moment between two neighbors, sparked a flicker of something I hadn't realized I was missing, a fragile ember of warmth, connection, and hope. It was the beginning of something new, something that might just thaw the frost that had settled around my heart. The next morning, driven by a sudden spark of curiosity and a quiet hope, I decided to bake oatmeal cookies for George. The scent of cinnamon and brown sugar filled my kitchen as I stirred the dough, imagining how these simple treats might be the bridge to a new friendship. With the warm cookies wrapped carefully in a linen cloth, I walked to his door, heart fluttering with a mix of nerves and excitement. When George opened the door, a gentle smile greeted me, and he invited me inside without hesitation. His home felt like a sanctuary, shelves lined with dog-eared books, soft amber light spilling from a crackling fireplace, and the faint aroma of old paper mingling with fresh pine from a small indoor plant. It was a space that reflected a quiet soul, one that seemed to hold stories waiting to be shared. We settled near the hearth, the warmth of the fire matching the ease that quickly grew between us. Our conversation flowed naturally, from the delicate art of gardening to the escape found in favorite novels, from tales of distant travels to simple dreams yet fulfilled. With every word, the invisible walls that had once kept us apart gently crumbled. It was as if the universe had folded time and space so two strangers could become something more. Days passed, and with each sunrise, our conversations deepened. I found myself sharing the tender history of my beloved rose garden, how each bloom was a testament to patience, love, and quiet resilience. George listened, eyes bright with genuine interest, and then confessed something I hadn't expected. He'd always longed to have a garden but felt too restless, too impatient to nurture one. "Would you teach me?" he asked, a hopeful note in his voice. That simple question felt like a key turning in a lock. From that morning on, we worked side by side in the soft light of dawn, planting seeds and coaxing life from the earth. Our laughter echoed through the garden as we muddied our hands and shared stories, sometimes quiet, sometimes filled with joy. The plants weren't the only things growing. Between us bloomed something fragile yet vibrant, an unexpected companionship, tender and full of promise. That evening, the sky darkened faster than anyone expected, as if the world itself was holding its breath. Then came the storm, a fierce, unrelenting force of wind and rain that tore through the neighborhood with wild abandon. I was jolted awake by the roar of thunder and the relentless pounding of rain against my window. Heart pounding, I grabbed my coat and dashed outside, instinct guiding me toward George's house. When I arrived, the sight was almost surreal. A massive oak tree, ancient and towering, had come crashing down, its enormous limbs sprawled across the roof like a fallen giant. The shingles were torn away, exposing the fragile bones of the home to the pouring rain. Through the chaos, I spotted George, standing in the doorway, his face pale and eyes wide with shock, but thankfully unharmed. Without hesitation, I helped him inside my car, insisting he come stay with me until his home was safe again. The storm raged on, but inside my small living room, the world felt strangely still, safe from the tempest outside. That night, under the soft flicker of candlelight, as the rain drummed steadily against the windows, George and I sat together over warm cups of tea. The weight of the day finally lifted as he began to share memories of Margaret, his late wife, his voice soft, tinged with both sorrow and love. He spoke of their laughter, their dreams, and the quiet moments that made life meaningful, vulnerable and honest. He told me how much my presence had come to mean to him, how I had unknowingly brought light back into the shadowed corners of his life. Listening to him, I felt my own heart open, swelling with a warmth and hope I hadn't known in years. It was as if the storm outside had swept away not only the physical debris, but also the walls we'd both built around our loneliness. For the first time in a long while, I felt less alone, more connected. Together, we faced the wild chaos outside, but inside that quiet room, something fragile and precious had begun to grow, something neither of us dared to name yet, but both of us felt deeply, the stirring of hope and the promise of new beginnings. The storm had finally passed, leaving behind a sky washed clean and a world renewed. Warm sunlight poured over Willowbrook Lane, turning the familiar street into a scene of gentle golden magic. It felt as if nature itself was blessing our lives, giving us a fresh start after the chaos and uncertainty. George's old house, battered by the tempest, stood as a quiet reminder of what had been lost and what could be rebuilt. Together, we rolled up our sleeves, patching broken windows and painting weathered walls. But as much as we worked on the house, we worked even more on each other, on the fragile yet resilient bond forming between us. We shared meals rich with laughter, exchanged dreams long held in silence, and savored the quiet moments where words weren't needed at all. One crisp autumn afternoon, the kind where the air is sharp with promise and the leaves burn in shades of red and gold, we walked hand in hand beneath towering maples blazing like fire. The world around us was changing, yet in that moment, everything felt eternal. George stopped, looking at me with eyes softened by time and tenderness. "You know," he said quietly, "Margaret would have liked you." His words caught me off guard, and a sudden wave of emotion welled up inside me, tears of joy mingling with a bittersweet ache. I knew he was right. Margaret, with all her grace and strength, would have seen the goodness between us, the way we fit together despite the years behind us. And in that realization, a quiet hope blossomed, a promise that the best chapters of our lives were still unwritten, waiting just ahead. With hearts open wide and hope burning bright, we stepped forward together, side by side, ready to face whatever the future might hold. No matter the storms or the calm, we knew we would face them as one. Willowbrook Lane wasn't just a place, it was a new beginning.